Good morning, this is Jennifer at Workamajig. I'd like to welcome you all to the project request forms and process webinar I'll be doing today. It'll be about 30 minutes long, so it's not a huge amount. And I see there are 26 people in here so far. Throughout this webinar, you can put things in chat. I may wait a little while till I get to the end of a section, and there are about six, well, there are 6 sections, as you can see on here, that we'll be going over today. But I'll be checking to make sure if you have any questions that I don't cover, that we do that. So let me just start with saying my name is Jennifer Broadwater. I am an account manager and trainer at Workamajig. If you are watching this and you haven't been with Workamajig, we are a project management and accounting software company serving all over the world, mostly the United States, but we have people everywhere that use our software. And today, this project request forms and process is going through something that most internal agencies use and some normal, regular agencies use, meaning usually an internal agency needs more of a process and it's easy to use this process for a company that their other departments are requesting projects from them. So we're going to go over this in 2 different ways. I'm going to be showing you stuff inside of Workamajig and my Workamajig and how to set it up, and then we'll also look at it from the requester side. So let's get started with that. And welcome to today's webinar. So the first thing we're going to go over is some security rights. So I'm going to go to my page. And the first thing to note, obviously my page looks different than your page, is not everyone will be able to set up project request forms. There's some security rights that are necessary to set it up, which means you're usually an admin to do that. However, once you have that in the back end, you're going to go to an admin manager and a system setup. And there's just a couple of security rights. So you're in account information already and security settings. And again, after this call or in the next few days, this will be uploaded so you can get a copy of it off of the YouTube that it gets sent to when we're done. Anyways, so it doesn't matter what group, you may have different groups than ours, but the first thing to note is if you are going to do project request form, if you just type in the word request, the project request security rights will come up, and you will need, if you want to be able to view them, if you want to be able to add them, if you need to edit them after you do them or delete or this, these are the security rights that you need in order to use project request forms. So that's the first thing. That's pretty simple. All right. And that's the only thing in the back end. I mean, most of the time, you're going to need to have file rights and stuff like that, but that's all you need to know in the back end. So that takes care of number 1, security rights. So now we're going to go through a setup and approval process. So if you aren't familiar with those, that's where it comes into play that you may or may not be able to get to this. So we're going to go back to admin manager, back to system setup. And then down in this area called tracking, you have project requests. And I believe if you're a new client, they will be blank and you will have to start one from scratch. And that's what we're going to do today. Project request forms are completely related to spec sheets. When we talk about project request forms, people always get confused because they actually want to use them as a spec sheet, and they do several different, and they kind of like try to combine them. Think of this as a cover sheet to say just some minimal information that you need from the client. And then the spec sheet is added to the project request to give all those details of that kind of project. So for example, and of course, I'm going to open all of these, but you may have spec sheets, very defined information where there's a lot of questions that will go, this all information pours into the project. I'm going to attach one of these spec sheets to a project request so that not the project request just has minimal information. The spec sheet attached has all the information, and both of these things feed into the project after they're approved so that you have a place to store this information, which is kind of the point of the project request, right? All right, so let's get started. So you may have this completely blank if you haven't done one before. Today we're going to do, because Usually, and let me back up 1 second. Usually your project requests, you have 2 different ways to do this. They're good. They should be aligned with the project types that you do, right? So you might have, and if you're not sure what your project types are, hopefully you would be able to go to your global list and look at your project templates, and you should have templates, you should, for the different types of projects you do. So some people do one project request form, and then they have, but they do different types of projects, and other clients align them each. So I might have one for one. I might have a project request form for a TV spot that goes along with the spec sheet. So they could all be divided up, or some people just use one simple form, and then they just have the different spec sheets available for the person to pick from, which seems a little more confusing if you are the client or the internal person trying to pick it. This would narrow it down a little bit easier. So we're going to go back to tracking again, and we're going to define the project request. And today we're just going to do a simple website, because I'm going to take you through the whole process of how to do this. So step 1, click on the plus sign. Step 2, define. So what do you want your users or your people requesting projects to see? So I think it's very easy if you just define it with, what are you requesting? Oh, I'm requesting a website. That's pretty obvious, right? And you can describe in here, use this, so they can read this, like a person would be able to use this when, and then it would tell you more information. Anywhere there's a dot, it is required that you put this information in. I don't actually have to have a description if this is enough, but if I wanted to, I can. So just again, this is just your cover page, basically, and then you can have a request. You need to have a request prefix. It can be the same word, it can be something shorter. Some people have named them with numbers. Some people just, just something that defines this, because this makes this unique. The request number usually starts at 0. The first number you do would be 1. But if for some reason you were using request forms in your old system, then you might want to start with a different number. Minimum days. Now this is important, because you need to set, for a website, you may think to yourself, oh, it takes our people 2 weeks to set up a website for the first time. So if I'm very specific that I'm doing a website, I may say that I cannot get this done within, I need to have a minimum of 14 days. And that's going to let the person requesting it know, I can't come in here and ask for a website next week, because that's not going to do it, right? So that's why you have this in here. If you don't have it in there, it's going to be whatever they set. That's what your deadline should be. Now, this is where I told you in the beginning, you should already have templates set up to do a project based on that. So if I look in here, I hopefully have one that says web. Oh, good, I do. So, oh wait, I think I like this one better. So it doesn't matter, but for this, you want to align it. You don't have to, but it makes it a lot easier for the project manager or the person that opens the project if the template is aligned with the project request. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, now we automatically have defined, when I send this out to each person, what is it going to say? And the things like when I send this out, it says the project request for blah, blah, blah will be sent for approval. So these are already in here, but if you wanted it to say something else, you would write it in here. Yes, you are approved for this project. So you can replace what we say with something else if you want to. Okay, so that's pretty simple. So what do you want it to say? Now these things get more, a little more crazy. There's some options for you. Most people want to display, most people, and you don't have to do this, require that the requester pick the project name. That's nice. That's a nice feature, instead of you having to think of what do you want to call it, right? So that's nice. Some require a project description. So that would be like a field they would fill out. I'm not going to require, but you can require it. Then you can also display the client project number, not really necessary, but if you use project numbers, you can do that. If this is part of a campaign, you could display that. Display client divisions if you use that. Obviously, these are things you could do if you needed to. Here's one though that is interesting. A lot of times you might want to force someone to give you an attachment of what they're looking for, because you're just like, whoa, what do they want? So you could actually require an attachment. And if you needed to include a deliverable, you could do that too. I'll just show you how that all works. Actually, I'll just require this one. All right, so normally the requester gets added to the project team in most people's cases. Like, why wouldn't you want to add the person who, so the team, so that you guys can talk back and forth to each other. That's really what that's for. And do you need to send a confirmation email to the requester? And it would say this, unless you erase this and put something else on there, right? This is if you're doing multiple, if you are doing one project request, like a generic general request form, and you're letting people do different specs based on what they want, and say they have, it's almost like a campaign where you have several different project types that someone's requesting. Some people actually still print these out. So if you have this print specs on different pages, that would be seriously if you were in a company where you have one person doing the collateral and one person doing digital and one person doing logo, and you need to actually print those out and hand them to the person. So that is what this is for, is really kind of old school, but still people use printing of stuff, which is absolutely fine. That's why you would want to print it on separate pages, not necessary. Use default name and email, which comes in from the user, and then available spec sheet list. If I don't have this, then only the spec sheet that I pick, meaning of this spec sheet, I don't want the user to go and pick other things. I want to use the one that I'm assigning to this. So, which I'll show you how that gets hooked up in a minute. But some people, if you're doing that generic one, and then you want to let them pick from other spec sheets to decide how many different projects they need this photography spec sheet and this, then that's when you would use that. So that's all that's on the first page. So this is like, we're adding this request and we're going to hit save. Again, super easy so far. Okay, so it immediately brings up this page. And this is where I said, oh, you want to add the spec sheet that you want the people to fill out. So we have the spec sheets, and hopefully I have something to do with web. Oh, good, I do have a website spec sheet. So that's website request. Hopefully there's something good inside there. So we want to add this. So the first page is going to be some general information, and then the client's going to have to, or your user is going to have to then fill out more additional information that will be on here, and you can give them instructions if you'd like. So what did I do so far is just add the spec sheet. Then there's this little area here, which is kind of twofold. One is where we just were. This pen here is going to take us back to those same questions that we were just at, and just really just let you make changes there. But if you have special things you need to add to that cover sheet, I don't want the details of the specs. I want something real general that I might need to know up front. And I can tell you from experience, you can put whatever fields you want onto this form, but usually I see something like, well, we really need to know up front how many hours is somebody needing, like what are they requesting, how many hours do they think? So you can click from ones that you might see on here. I think I created all these, or you can make your own. So I'm going to have two fields just to show you how that is. I'm going to pick one and just you pick and drag, and then you can move them around, edit, or remove. But if I want to make my own field, that's when you open up this and say, okay, what else would be a good question for website colors or something? A website, something important that everybody would need to know. Website. We'll just, even though this would typically go on a spec sheet, but we might say colors. And it's going to give you some options here. And I'm just going to pick one for right now where it's like, let's use a radio button. And if we do that, you can describe it. So you have different options here. And I will talk about like user lookup would be like if you needed to put someone's name in here to pick the account manager, we might do that one too, contact lookup or something like that. But these are the ones where you're usually just picking. And this is one that you would just write in. If it needs to be a giant area for somebody to write you a novel, then you need a text area. This is just like a paragraph, dates, or numeric. So radio button's pretty easy. When you're using something that's a drop down, each option has to be on its own line. So I may be pink, red, blue, orange, just giving them that. I could have a default value that automatically pops up and say orange is the one. I can make it required They can't go past that question, which I will do. And I could even give them a hint. What color should background be? I don't know. Something like that. Again, this question might not pertain to, it really would be more on a spec sheet in most cases. We even have a display when, so if they answer a different question in another field, then it will, like populate. That question will only show up if somebody did some other answer. So you do have that, so that's really nice. And we'll put save. Field name cannot have spaces. Oh, look, see, now I do the error. Fine. Okay, delete that. Save. Very easy. Once I put that over there, it's not actually on the form until I find it, which is usually highlighted, and then I can click and drag it, and I could move this up and down if I wanted to. But this is basically what it's going to look like, and I'm going to show you from the other side what this looks like. So the only two like special things on the cover sheet I'm going to have is this, just to give you an example. All right, so that is this area. So we've done this spec sheet and we added the spec sheet, and this is part of the request form itself. Now we need to set up an approval process, right? The approval process, super easy. This is all super easy. Who does this go to? When a person requests a project, you have to decide in your office who gets this and what do you want to call it? I don't know. Most people, I almost think this should just be pre-filled in as just approve, or something like that. And you can just, please look at this and make a decision. I mean, that's kind of the purpose. Now, you don't even have to have instructions. It's kind of like why, you know what this means. But the approvers can be one or multiple people from your office. It could even be the client. But somebody needs to approve this. I mean, actually, it couldn't be the client. It has to be a full user to be an approver. So we usually go to the staff. So it opens up, your approver, you can click on staff and you can decide who would approve this. I'm going to make myself an approver for this because I need to show you how this would work. And you could have multiple people on here. So if I did do multiple people, which will kind of screw up this demo because I'm only one person, then you have to make some decisions. And these are the same kind of decisions, if this looks familiar, that we have on deliverables. So when you set up your deliverables, you had these kind of choices like, do I need to send it to everyone? An email go out if there's multiple people it needs to go to? Or do I need to send it in order? If I send to everyone at once, everybody can either approve or deny it. Only one person needs to. If I have everyone must review on here, then it does not go through the next step until each person decides if it should be approved or not, the project. Most people would just send it out to everyone. And usually I have to say only one person usually sees this. But if you have multiple approvers and it's sent out at once and we don't have everyone must review, whoever gets to it, meaning it's going to go in an email and it's going to go into your bell, whoever gets to it first can approve it and then make a project. I mean, that's just who, first come, first serve type thing. Everyone, oh, I did almost skip this one. Number of days to approve. From the date that the person submits it, it defaults to 2 days, but you can change this if you need a lengthier time period once you receive these. And everyone must log in, just prevents other people because depending on how you send it through an email, it could actually open up the link for the project request inside of the person's Workamajig. So this is a good thing to have. Everyone must log in. I'll just turn it on. And reminders. So if you click on this, it's going to give you additional options. Do I need to be sent emails every hour? Sure, why not, right? Every number of hours before they remind, 2 hours, we're going to start doing hourly reminders. You don't have to do that. So, but if you do want to remind people that they haven't checked it, but again, you're going to get an email and you're going to get it in your bell to tell you to do this. So the approver is the person that after the request comes through. Now, after that comes through and it's approved, do we need to notify anybody? Do we need to notify the client? Will automatically be removed, the person that's requesting it. But do I need to notify somebody else in the office after I approve it? So that's where I can let Darth know, or somebody else, or nobody, they'll just get triggered an email after it's approved, right? And when you save that, now you have an approval process. We've decided how it should be approved. And that's pretty much the approval part. So when we click out of this X, we've done this, we've done this, we've done this, and then there's access. So who do you want to have access this form, right? This is the easy part. It's done by a security group. So you guys have people in security groups. If it's internal, you guys might have them in the clients, people, or, if it's all of the people, like I'll just say everybody can access this form. Everybody can, if there was like, nope, we're not letting media people access this form because they'll never need it, that's fine. You can take them off. But these are my security groups. Your security groups are probably different, and I have way too many if you ask me. All right, so we've just set up this entire form, which is now here. So how does this all work? Let me make sure I didn't miss anything on here. Security, approval, access, how the requester sees it. We're here already. Look at this. We're cruising right along. Okay, so now that we've set it up, and I'm going to stop for a second and ask if there is any questions so far, which I will look on here, which I don't see, which there should be a chat area if you need to see it, which I've none. Good. All right, so what I'm going to do now is go in as a user so you can see the process, and I'm going to request a project, and then I'm going to come back over as Spicy Ginger, and I'm going to approve that project, and you can see the whole process then. So lucky me, I've already set this up. Blah, blah, blah. Now I am signed in as like a free user. So yours may, and it could be an internal, so it wouldn't look like this. So I'm signed in, and this is what the client vendor portals look like, which we're not doing today, but there are lots of webinars on these. But similarly, you would be able to do this from internally. I guess I should go back one step. Internally, all your users then can get to them from this and then come down to the project request form. So if they're a regular user, they do it through this. I'm showing it through here so you can kind of see it like as if you were a free user, an internal different department. So you would have on here a place to ask for a project request. And I've been doing this for a long time, so I can come in and see, hey, which ones of mine have been approved, which ones were sent for approval, which one I've been sitting on and I didn't actually send it. So there'll be different areas, and then I can come in here. These are like old ones, and actually submit it to get approved, the project request. I'm going to find the one I just did by just clicking this plus sign. Oh, look, there it is. So I have these other ones for different stuff, but if I came in here, oh, good, there's a chat. Can you provide some examples how agencies use this? Yes, I can. Justine Costner. So most agencies using this are internal marketing agencies, and they are getting requests from the different departments. Maybe you work in a hospital, or wherever you work. Your use case scenario is, I need not to have all these people calling me and emailing me and saying, I want a project, and I need to, oh, we can't see the chat. I don't know how to add that on. You sure? I see this chat. Darn it. I'm sorry, guys. Who can see the chat? Recording is on. So account owners, you can save your apps. Panelists too. Everyone. Is there any ability to see chat now? Anyone? Okay. Well, I can read the chat. It's in the black bar at the bottom. Okay, I don't even know if that's referring to me. Anyone see this? It's in the black bar at the bottom. Sorry, guys. I don't know what black bar that's. I can see it. I can see the big group chat. Well, that's good. I don't know. Maybe I did something wrong. I don't need that. In any case, I'll read them if I see them, which I'm reading. Okay, more chat. I can see it. Okay, so some people can see it. I don't know what's blocking it. Something is on there. But in any case, I'll go back to this question. I need to make sure question is sent to everyone. Oh, I changed it to everyone. Maybe you can see it now. So I see it as creating order in a company that you are receiving a lot of and you don't know, like there needs to be a process, because we can't just have people, well, you can, and you probably do, have people list coming in from all different ways, from calls, emails, different directions, and asking for projects, and then there's no like order to it. So this is really to establish a order for an approval process of how things are going to go, adding people to the team, or the clients to the team, to be able to get some hierarchy of, it's really just to keep order. And you'll see that is a black bar. People are still questioning that. I can see them. Yay, everybody can see them. Okay. I don't know. I'm going to move my chat over here. In any case, let's go back to the project request. So at this point, the person is going to pick on the one that they did, and you're going to remember we required a project name. Their information will automatically default in, and they're like, new website for people. I'd have no idea what we would write. And they can provide that project description. I think I told you this is much bigger than the space is. If they need to write a book, they can. And then the due date, remember I said you needed 14 days, I think. The due date will automatically not let you put it in like before this date. So if I can change it to the 30th is okay, but I said that I need 14 days to do this. So the person would, be constricted to that. And here where I put the 2 questions that I thought were so important I needed to see up front is how many graphic design hours does someone need, and what color do they need? And you can only pick one, but there is a different way where you can pick multiple. And I don't know if I like that down at the bottom, but in any case, that's the top part. Now, when I go through this, immediately step 2 is the spec sheet that I added. So you didn't see any of this stuff before, because this is just the spec sheet that I'm requesting a person to fill out before they get this, my message. This is the delivery date that they could choose for them. This could be, like these are all custom. Like, what do you need to see? So I'm not going to fill all of this out, because that's not the point of you have your own system of what you need to see. These are just like different ways that we can set this up. Platform, Windows, next. So these are questions on my spec sheet. There are currently no attachments. So it's going to require me, I think I put that I needed to have an actual attachment. So I'm going to upload an attachment to this. And if I needed to, I could come in and add another spec sheet of any other spec sheet. But this is like something where I probably want them to, and you can have that removed, so they can't add other spec sheets. The only spec sheet you need is the website one, right? And I did an attachment, and then they're going to submit. This is all pretty basic and pretty easy what they see. It's like, just fill this out and turn it in. So when I submit this, it should go into the submitted. I might have to refresh this. And they got that message, that generic message on there. Oops, that's not where I want to be. Hold on. So now it's sent for approval. I should see website in there. Why am I not seeing my website in there? 3:30. Oh, due date. Okay. This is the new one. So I can see and go back to that. And I know it's not approved yet. It's just gone to, they can get that information opening this up again. They can see went to Spicy Ginger, and that will be notifying them and all of the information that's on here. So that's where that is. So now I'm going to hop back in and note that I'm going to be Spicy Ginger, and we're going to see what she sees from her side. So bear with me while we go back to that. So I would be getting an email, and I would be getting something in my bell to tell me I need to approve this. So this is the next part of the process. Oh, I have so much work to do. Project requests. Let's see if I can figure out which one this was. Okay, March 30th. Oh yeah, because here's my comments. They come through. So these are some other ones I need to approve that are sitting here. So this is going to be something so easy for you guys. You click on it. Literally, it gives you the spec sheet information, the description, there's those 12 hours, there's the color pink I liked. And here, if I click on this, it'll open up all the answers to the spec sheet questions. So obviously you would be reviewing this. You'd be reviewing this. You can look at the attachment. if you needed to, which I don't really need to open that for you. And then you can see the approval process. For some reason, if you needed to change your approval process right now, you do. Oh, I guess I don't have the ability to change this because I'm in it. I thought that we could, oh, can add people to it if you needed to, but you can't really take this person off because then there would be no one. But you could add other approvers. So from here, hopefully your approval process would be just like, it will tell you if there's multiple approvers in there or just one. This takes you to the request details. That was the same thing basically that we had up here. I don't know why you would need to see it here if you see it here, but in any case you can, I think, start conversations from here. If I needed to ask the person that requested the project, I can go ahead and start a new conversation back to Bart. I think that was contact. I think he was a contact, Bart. So if I needed to be sure, Bart, why is he not on there? There he is, which is there. All right. So if I needed to send an email, and I probably wouldn't send it to myself, to Bart to let him know that there's something wrong with this request or something, I can do that right from here. I'm not going to bother to do that today, but you see there was this conversations area here that you can do. So the main point of this is, do I want to approve it or reject it? And once you do that, that decision, then we make a project and all the information, because we decided that there was going to be a template, it makes it really easy. So if I approve this, I can make comments and approve. And as soon as you hit approve, if you have the right, you will have the right to create a project. I'm not going to create it right from here because I want to show you some other places that this goes to. And I do have another chat. Our client would need to have Workamajig to do this right. They would need to, your client that would need to request the form can be a free user. They don't need to have Workamajig. They need to be a free user of Workamajig that you set up where they have that portal, meaning yes, quite honestly, to get to this page so that they could like have a work with this guy is just like a client, they would have to be set up. And there is an entire webinar on how to set up clients to be able to use our system for free to do these things, which are, I know this is a little off track, but they can do deliverables, they can do project requests, they can be on projects. So this whole free area, they do have to have a sign on with whatever app you guys are on, but then that would give them the ability to do all of this. Otherwise, you're looking at just using it for internal employees, and that was using it through that plus sign to get to the project request over here to do it, but your clients can do it. So that was a question from Brianna. All right, where was I? All right, I'm not going to create the project here because I want to show you where all this stuff goes in other places so that you know, like, say Spicy Ginger was out of the office and somebody else had to come in and start that project or was responsible for it. Where do I see this and how do I see this? So we're going to step back to the beginning. So most of you guys have some type of landing page, but to find these project requests, you're going to hit Project Manager and Today PM. And then you have an area under the views. Well, you might have to scroll down if you have a lot of work to do. And it says all requests. You might have different ones and you can set these like up any way you want. I have a bunch of requests in here and I need to actually find the one for 2022 approved. I should say website. I have them, sorry, I got to find the one we did. That's not what we're doing. That's not what we're doing. That's not what we're doing. There it is. So I have mine separated. You might want to do this too, so you can easily find them. You can do a lot of filters on here. I could have probably gone by date, but I'm trying to find this specific one. And I know we just did a website one and it was approved and it was for Bart Simpson. So I can open this up and it takes me back to that same exact page that we were on. And so I'm pretend I'm not Spicy Ginger and somebody else in the office that has the ability to create projects. They can come in here and create this project, or she can, which I know. So I could do that on any of these on here. So when I create the project, the cool thing about this, shoot, I have these other weird things. Product. Sorry, I have these extra, you won't have these fields, most of you, but remember they pick the name, The primary contact that did it comes in with this. You don't have to have a project number, that's automatic. But this website template that I said, wouldn't it be nice? And I don't even have to think. The website template automatically comes in. You may want to choose a project manager, just choose myself. I have these other things, and here's that long description. And basically I have some custom fields that you don't need to worry about either, but adding a project is that simple after that. So you have all the information, and that also, once it saves, I want to show you where it ends up on the project. Wait for it. Please don't go down in the middle of my webinar. I'm just going to be patient. Okay, maybe I'm not going to be patient. I was like, not. I'm going to do that one more time. It's like stuck, and I'm not really positive why, but give me a minute to see why that's hanging up there. Yay, now it's working. Okay, that's how fast it should be, not what happened the first time. Ignore that. All right, so where do I see this information? Oh, guess what? We have a spec sheet. So the project opens like any other project. The spec sheet should automatically be attached. So the spec sheet was all that information I plugged in, and so the person can refer to that. If I need to see in the project settings, the actual covers part sheet, the actual project request itself, that is here. So it just named it Web 1, and I can open up that source and it will take me back to that page. So this is the same thing that we saw before. Can I open multiple projects from one? I always get that question. Yes, technically you could create more than one. That seems odd that you would, but you can. And is there something, sorry, there was one more thing I wanted to mention on the project request. I think it was that I wanted to show you that when you printed it, if you needed the spec sheets on different pages, well, I only have one spec sheet. You can print the multiple spec sheets. This is where I could have the project request with each project spec sheet. If you had multiple on there, would print on a separate page from here. All right, so I can get to that. It's going to be under your project. And if you scroll down, it'll be source is a project request. So I can always see that. Now that you need to go back to that, more than likely, when you're doing a project, you're going to be needing to see the spec sheet from here. So everybody would have access in the project to see the spec sheet from there. And now it's now says approved on that all request area. So let me make sure. So we went through. Now you can see them in the project and in the Workamajig view. So I can always see the spec sheets and the project requests in the project, and I can also see it from views. Determining your process, this is the last section. Simple is better. You may have certain spec sheets, or not spec sheets, project request forms that go to certain approvers separated by project type. That is probably my best advice, is to demonstrate the difference. I'll go back to this one more time in the back end, in that tracking area. The project request process is a lot easier if you have one project request for each type of project you do. And that project request is tied to a template to make it easier. That's type of project equals type of, and it automatically flows through. And the person that's responsible for it, for the approval, is usually the person that's going to open the project. So people do complicate and get like a whole bunch of different approvers involved and stuff like that before that. But no, you can have multiple approvers, and that's fine. Everybody will get it in their approval box if you send it to everyone at once, first person to approve it. And then it goes over to again, we'll review, it goes back to the Today PM page when it's done. When it's approved, and again, it's project request. Now from the other guy, from Bart Simpson, and then I'll see that all request, I could separate this too. Like if you didn't like this kind of view in yours, you could modify and then come to a filter and put like approved, approval status, and prompt this and then apply. So it might be easier for people to say, oh, the approval status equals to approved. So if I just went to look for the approved ones, oops, if I know how to spell and hit search, that should eliminate everything except this ones that are approved, right? So I could do something like that, or I'm just looking for ones within the last week. Like I don't need to see all of these, but they're always going to be stored in here. There's no real way to get rid of them unless you're going through and deleting them out, which would be kind of purposeless. In any case, that's where you find them. Now from the other guy's side, good old Bart, I do need to refresh this because it's not in real time right this now, just to make sure. I should be able to now see, he should receive a message. Oh, wait for it. I wonder if he gets a message here. Red system messages. No, okay, just in, but he should be able to get approved. It should come into his approved area because it was approved, and website for, is it this one? 330, yeah, website for people. So he can go back and see that that's been in that step and that's been approved. So, and it will even tell me who approved, who got notified. So this is back on his side. He knows, and he doesn't have to call you, bugging you whether or not it was approved or not, because he can see it. And if you made comments on it, he would also see the comments that you did, right? And there's no conversation, but this is where I said, if he had a conversation that would link in, and actually that would go to his bell, the conversation. All right, so that's pretty simple. I want to know if anybody has questions now, because that's really the gist of this. The other thing to note is, if you're looking for that process of setting up your clients, there's another webinar. There's actually many webinars for the client portal, and that's what you want to look up. So that's a good thing to go to. If you're looking up, thinking that your clients need to be in this, there's a webinar, just take you to it from our support. And it was in the 2021 webinars, and you should be able to find client portal in here. And then you can watch that on there for client portal. Once that gets set up, then it makes it easier for people that are free users to use it. Otherwise, you're going to be using it as a project request through here. Thank you guys for your time. I'm going to check one more time if there's any questions, which there aren't. Then that's it. Well, thank you guys, and you guys have a good day. And this will be live within a week or so for you to go ahead and get a copy of it off of that support website. Okay, thanks very much. Have a good day.